Lokoz Boxing. A video was recently released where Eddie Reynoso, Canelo Alvarez's trainer, was asked where Canelo and his team got their inspiration as far as Canelo's defensive style. It was asked if he adapted this from Mayweather. Eddie Reynoso, to the surprise of everyone, actually mentioned who the inspiration was behind Canelo Alvarez's defensive style. He mentioned some of the great Mexican legends, such as the legendary trainer Jesus El Cholain Rivero, Gilberto Romano, and Miguel Canto. He also mentioned how Jesus El Cholain Rivero was the one who trained Ignacio Berenstein. As many of you know, Ignacio Berenstein became a very successful boxing trainer himself. He mentioned Jose Mebel, and to the surprise of everyone, he also mentioned that looking at Shane Mosley's fighting style actually helped Canelo's team adapt that defensive style. So it was a mix of all these trainers and legendary fighters where they were able to develop that defensive style that they now have. They asserted that it was not from Mayweather, and this makes sense. A lot of people claim that he adopted the Mayweather defense style, but I can still see how that is different. For starters, I'm not taking anything away from Floyd Mayweather and his defensive style, and I'll be the first to point out that the way that Floyd Mayweather got his victories and remained undefeated was due to his defensive style. However, this defensive style involves a lot of clenching. Some of the fights was kind of just clenching his way through all 12 rounds. The style also revolves around him, running around the ring and leaving a huge amount of space between him and the fighter when he's trying to avoid getting hit. He kind of worked in a way where he would frustrate the fighter by running around the ring, coming and hitting him, running around. It started as a psychological problem where he would frustrate the fighter, not allow the fighter to touch him, and keep winning those rounds. I'm personally not a fan of fighters that clench a lot, but I know that it is a strategy, and I know it's valid in boxing to a certain extent. And that's why I say I don't take anything away from Mayweather in his victories. I understand that he remained undefeated and got to where he is and made his career because of his defensive style. Good for him. It's just not the most entertaining type of fight for me personally. I can see where Canelo's defensive style is not near Mayweather's defensive style because you don't see Canelo clenching throughout the whole fight, hugging his fighters. You also normally don't see Canelo running around the ring, waiting till his opponent tires out. And as a result of this, Mayweather gets hit less than Canelo does. Canelo does take more hits. So they are two different defensive styles. I think anybody who really watched both fighters fight throughout their careers, if they really think about it, there's not a lot of similarities between the way Canelo and Mayweather handle their defense in the ring. Now, did Canelo learn from his fight against Mayweather? Of course he did. I think that for most boxing fights, you learn something. At least the spectators and fans, they learn something about their favorite boxer or whoever they're watching fight, and they use that for the next fight to predict or try to predict what the results are going to be for the next bout. So if the spectators are able to learn from a boxer's mistakes, how much more do you think the boxer himself will learn? Of course. He learned from Mayweather's fight. He learned from all the other fights, especially because that was probably Canelo Alvarez's most frustrating fight, trying to chase him down and he kind of fell for the traps that Mayweather set for him. So I think he did learn a lot in the way that if he fights somebody who's a slick fighter or a technical fighter, he has a lot more experience. Not to mention, I even think he learned from his last fight with Billy Joe Saunders. Although it went exactly as Canelo kind of anticipated or predicted, but anytime you step into the ring with any fighter, you usually take something from it. Whether you win or lose, you kind of get the hang or the feel of that fighter's style. Except for when he fought Yildirim. I don't think Canelo learned anything from stepping in the ring with Yildirim. That was just too easy. Of course, that was mandated in order for Canelo to keep his belt and continue with this goal to collect all the belts. With all that being said, it's nice to know that Eddie Reynoso was able to let us know where Canelo got his defensive style from. And I think it's very interesting, the combination of these trainers and fighters. I don't know about you all, but I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the defensive style of these different fighters and compare them to Canelo's current defense. And I'm going to check it out, see if I can find the resemblance or where that inspiration came from. Because all of these fighters had a great skills and great career, whether as boxers or trainers. Let me know what y'all think. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Lokoz Boxing.